So, first things first, just talking about the ergonomics of the helm. It's a comfortable one. Yeah, the communication between helmsperson and guests is fantastic. You're going to have the whole family and friends all hanging out here enjoying the ride, so that's really good. In terms of the boat's operation, this is funnily enough, an easy boat for a beginner to get the handle of or get the hang of. The bigger they are, the heavier they are, the less wind affected they become. So a boat like this is not going to get blown around like smaller and lighter boats, so it will track reasonably well. We've got a couple of drives at the back of the boat which go from left to right, and you can operate them in the traditional manner with the electronic throttles and power assisted steering. Super easy to get the boat spinning around on the dime or walking it sideways by combining some steering, thrust and bow thruster. However, you don't need to do that because we have this wonderful piece of technology which includes the joystick just here. So this joystick is the get out of jail function for all beginner boaters or experienced ones for that matter, because it just makes your life easy, because the boat goes where you push the joystick. It's as simple as that. And the wonderful thing, unlike with throttles, when you're turning around and you face your body the other direction, you got to do the mental calculation in your head as to which direction should I be operating the throttles. You don't need to do that with a joystick. So you can swap hands and move your body 180 degrees, and it's not going to affect that little possibility of getting confused in your mind. So that is something worth noting when it comes to a joystick. But in terms of the helm, it's very, very comfortable. I could sit back here, I could put the boat on autopilot and just cruise up the coast really, really happily. I've got my opening window here so I can wave at my mates as they go by and get some airflow if you need. I've obviously got the roof open today. It's the middle of winter, but it's just stunning with the warm sun coming through right now, and I don't have the cold breeze on me, so this is how I like it. It would really have to be a lot colder for me to justify closing that roof today. The steering wheel is adjustable. The throttle is easy and feels quite natural to hand, but I've got my throttle, it's electronic jobby just here. I've got my joystick, I've got my Lenco trim tab operation here, my digital start stop just here, and my bow thruster on port. So basically my right hand is going to be mostly operating the throttle and the joystick, and my left hand is mostly going to be operating the wheel and the bow thruster in a parking scenario. However, the exception to that is if I was to turn around and needed to operate the joystick like that or that, you can use either hand. Now just going through the other elements at the dash before we turn around and get this boat up on the plane, and just excuse me moving my head around all the time. I don't know Botany Bay as well as Sydney Harbour, so just making sure I don't run up on any of the sandy beaches, of which there are many beautiful ones. So I might have to go and find one after this little run so we can walk you through this boat and perv on some of these beautiful planes coming into land at the airport and dream or try and remember what it used to be like going on them. Anyway, what we have at the dash, first things first, we've got a grey finish up forward. Now that's good and important. It has a functional purpose. Having a grey finish, it means you don't get glare bouncing back in your face. Any dashes that are white or glossy in colour can actually be quite a pain because the sun will bounce off them and go in your face and you can't really see what you're doing. On starboard of this dash, it's a metre or so wide. It's quite a large dash, as you would expect. It's a big boat. On starboard, we have our engine controls. So I've got starboard and port motors in 2 analog displays with my steering setup or my rudder angle indicator in the middle. So I've got my revs and engine hours on the bottom, and then I've got 2 gauges on the top, which gives me multiple displays from temperatures, volts, drive position, and fuel on each one. Then I've got a compass. I've got my Raymarine autopilot just below that. I have a Raymarine hybrid touch display in the middle, and then I've got 2 bidatas to port of that, which gives me things like depth, sea temperature, speed, and you can cycle through the functions as to what you want. And then I have two smaller displays, which are Volvo Penta diagnostics. You can cycle through them, get everything from your PSIs, water pressures, temperatures, flows, fuel flows, all that sort of stuff just there. Then moving my way back through the middle of the dash, it's quite sensibly laid out. I've got a little knick-knack holder here, which I've got my phone in. I've got air conditioning. I've got 4 vents, which come out from the dash. So that's quite a smart thing for summer. This little lift-up thingy-bob, it's just going to be good for, I don't know, books, small items. No one really uses charts anymore, so I'm not really sure what else you're going to put under there. But you could have like a VHF radio or some other, small safety gear bits and pieces like that. But there is a VHF on a cable plugged up in there as well. I got some phone charging. Oh, that's what this area is for. It's for charging your phones, because 12-volt charger. Sorry, okay. And I have the control button to operate the seats just back there. We will talk about that in the walkthrough. This bank on the port side is all my boat systems. So I've got bilge pump manual overrides. They're automatic bilge pumps. I've got engine blowers. I've got navigation equipment. I've got batteries, lights, roof operation, auxiliaries. It's all here. I got anchor. We do have a chain counter at the dash, so I've got your normal operation and proper chain counter showing the meters up and down. Windscreen wipers on individual switches, the horn, another auxiliary, and we have a spotlight as well. Fusion stereo just here, and then I've got the speaker just down here for the Ray Marine, and we've even got a little light just here. That's kind of handy, because at night time, if you want to do something, rather than turning all the lights on, that's good, because it's actually red and white, so that's actually very sensible. Okay. So, in terms of the power, we got twin Volvo 370 horsepower D6s on this boat. So we should get about a low 20 knot comfortable cruise, high 20s, maybe 30s, top speed, wide open throttle. The boat is well balanced. I'm going to start the run with probably half trim tab down, and you would adjust that trim tab setting depending on how much weight you got on the arse end of the boat. So if you've got a heavy, tender or jet ski out the back there, that's going to affect your center of gravity, and that'll pull it aft. Therefore, you want to trim a little bit more down on acceleration, and vice versa. If you lose some of that weight on the back of the boat, your center of gravity is going to go forward, and you just adjust as necessary. I'm also going to start with the engine trim in the down position. So engine trim down, and trim tabs just halfway down. What I will do, I'll accelerate, I'll get the boat planing, and once it's planing, I'll finish off the trim. So I'll probably raise the trim tabs a little bit. I might balance the boat out. I do have a little bit of wind today, and then I'm going to raise the drives just a degree. And all I'm doing is looking for efficiencies. I'm listening for the engines. I want them in that really settled, sort of happy place in terms of the motors running efficiently, fuel efficiently, and getting good speed return on my fuel burn. So I'm just getting distracted here by more sandbanks. There we go. Okay, we're in the clear. Alrighty, so currently on 800 revs. Where's my speed? I'm doing 4 knots. I'm just going to bring the thing up through the speed range. I'm not really going to slowly increase. You don't really do that on a boat like this. You either get on the plane or off the plane. So what I will do is just bring it to a off the plane cruise, and I'll tell you what speeds I'm achieving. So what I would normally do on a boat like this, I bring the revs up until I'm at such a speed that it's not offending other people. So what I mean by that is I'm not making wash. So I just look out the back, and I define that by my second wave after the boat. When that starts braking, that's probably going to knock someone off their stand-up paddleboard. So that's when I would make the decision to adjust my wash. And I'm just looking back there. That's pretty sensible and acceptable. So I'm doing 7.3 knots SOG. We've got a slight outgoing tide at the moment, and I'm on 1,000 what's that? 1,300 revs. 1,300 revs. And let's just bring that up to 1,400 and see what happens. They're diesels, so who cares about fuel flow? You know, this isn't the sort of boat that you're going to be worrying about fuel flow so much because, you know, you go places fast, and you go mostly out for long weekends. And the odd time you do run it up and down the coast, you'll worry about that then. If you're worried about fuel flow, you're looking at the wrong sport, to be honest. So, okay, we're still not making waves. That's 1,400 revs, and we're now getting just shy of 8 knots SOG. So, yeah, I'm going to say that's still going to be acceptable in a no wash zone. 8 knots SOG, no problems. But once you go above that, we're probably going to start pissing people off. So let's just try that out. So now I'm at 1,600 revs. You never want to be that guy sending waves into people's waterfront houses. That's just antisocial. So you know what? That's not even too bad. So we can still get away with that. So now I'm getting 8.5 knots SOG, and it's not that bad. Here we go. Okay, so at 1,900 revs, now I'm starting to make waves. That would offend people, and I can see slight bow raise, which I would expect on this category of boat. So there you go, 1,900 revs, and that says to me, well, we're no longer super efficient through the water because we're digging our butt a little bit, so let's just get on the plane, which is what we will do. Okay, so accelerating through 2,500, watching the nose come up. 2,900, the engines have really picked up there quite easily. I can see the nose settling down, and still 2,900 revs. My speed's climbing through 21 knots, and now I can feel the engines just need a 1 or 2 degree of leg trim up, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, that feels good. So I can see my revs just coming up slightly. I'm going to increase power a little bit. This is great. I feel like a king. Wow. Awesome. So I'm just sitting on 22 to 22.5 knots, 2,900 revs. I'm just going to raise the trim tabs a little bit now. Yep. Settling in there. That feels good. That feels good. So we'll just keep driving out here into the open water. So nobody around me. It's pretty quiet out here midweek. I'm just going to put the boat through a few little turns here. Yeah, she's responsive. You know, she's a big boat. She feels like she actually wants to go a tad faster, so I'm going to increase that power to 3,000. Yeah, okay. That's on the money. So 3,000 revs, a quarter trim tab down, 1 degrees of leg trim up, and 23 to 23.5 SOG is my speed return, and that just feels good. She likes that, and I could just sit on this all day long, and the boat's going to be happy. So before we do that, why don't we open it up to wide open throttle while we're out here in the open. Okay, climbing through 3,300, 3,400. Okay, the nose is lowering a little bit. So what I'm going to do is do trim tabs all the way up here. I do have a little bit of wind today pushing me to one side, so I'm just going to balance that out. There we go. And 30 knots. 30 knots, 30.5 knots. Give it a little bit of engine trim up. And I'm doing 3,500 revs. Yep, that's good. okay? I'm being cautious here of all this shallow water around me. So I'm gonna just hook it into a turn. So I'm just doing drives down. I'm doing a hard turn here. So that whistling you can hear is actually the wind. Okay, let me just line up my tracks again. That is actually the wind on the bolt rope tracks just out in these corners here, and that can be, you can actually just put the bolt ropes back in the track, and I forgot to do it. I left it at the boathouse, so my apologies. Yeah, 23 knots, anywhere in that 20 to 23 knot range. She's happy. She feels good. Even turning there in the tight turn, the boat's solid. Just looking for my markers here. That feels good. There's my marker, port marker, sighted. So, what's my wrap up on the performance of the Sealine S450? She's easy to drive. She's a delight to drive. She's got displacement, hull form, and the ability to take you places. It's quite clear there's a decent amount of V underneath the hull. I know that because I've seen this boat out of the water numerous times as well. But this is a boat, you know, you would happily pick your weather windows and sit on 21 to 23 knots and do blasts up and down the coast and stay places for a week, and everyone's going to be comfortable. You know, you're going to have your decent sized tender with you when you do those sorts of trips, or obviously you could do inshore trips, places like the Gold Coast, places like Pittwater, and even down in Melbourne, or the Murray River for that matter. There's plenty of places you could go and enjoy what this boat has to offer, and what I can see the sort of people benefiting from a boat like this. It really is going to be families for sure, particularly if you've got kids, or more than 2 kids, or kids who have friends for that matter and want to bring their mates. They're going to love this and the accommodation setup. Young people who want to entertain, so you know, you don't involve the kids at all. It could be you and 10 of your closest mates, and you'll have a great day or days on a boat like this. And you could also use the boat primarily through summer in, whether call it Sydney Harbour or Brisbane or the Gold Coast. But in winter, you could blast the thing up to Hamilton Island and just leave it there for a couple of months. I mean, what an amazing opportunity to have whilst we're not doing the overseas thing. Pop up to Hamo, spend a few weeks here and there on your boat. Life doesn't get much better than that. So it's going to be functional, efficient, and fun for all of those purposes. You know, having air conditioning here at the helm, having a decent amount of shade, having a proper tender that will go fast, air conditioned cabins downstairs, but with plenty of big opening hatches in every single cabin. So the hot weather up there at different times of the year is going to be more than manageable, and the cool weather like today, block that wind out as I have done. It's great. It's perfectly fine. I'm enjoying the moderate winter sun. I got my jacket on, but it's really not that bad. And if it was, I'd just turn on the heating. So I think it ticks a lot of boxes. It's going to keep a lot of people happy, and it's going to, give you those experiences that you might be looking for. Something that you perhaps can't get from overseas right now. It's all here, baby. It's all here.